Hey everyone, it's Jeffrey again for Rhinoco Technology. In this video, I'm going to be introducing you to the WatchGuard range of hardwired magnetic reed switches. Now, what is a reed switch? Well, a quick refresher. A magnetic reed switch contains two parts. The first part is the switch section, or the switch, and then the magnet section, okay? So the magnet triggers the switch. So essentially it's just a magnetic triggered switch. Now we could use these in a number of different applications, but the most common application are alarm systems. So we can mount these to doors and windows, etc. And from that we can tell whether the door or window or roller door or whatever it is that you've got it mounted to is open or closed. And just a quick demonstration on how they work. So what we have here is a multimeter, and as you can see, when we short the two wires together, it beeps and we see it drop to 0. So I'm just going to show you here on this reed switch, going to take both sides of the contacts, and then I'm going to take a magnet and we're going to move it closer, and you can see this will drop close to 0 ohms. And then as we take it away, you'll see it'll jump up and 0 ohms, and it'll jump back up again. So that's a basic introduction to what a reed switch actually does. Now there's quite an extensive range of reed switches in the WatchGuard line that Rhinoco stocks. So we're going to go through each of those today. So the first one that we're going to do, I'll just jump across, is our large surface mount reed switch. Now this is the product that you just saw in action one moment ago. It's an epoxy sealed surface mount reed switch, normally closed contact, dimensions. Obviously this is quite a large reed switch, but it's designed to bridge large gaps, and it's a plastic reed switch, plastic covers, and it comes in the white color only, as you can see here. So this is the reed switch itself, like I said before, the magnet side and the reed switch side itself, with large solderable tabs here so that we can solder our wires on, and the wires themselves become concealed within the reed. The cable entry, or cable exit I should say, on this device is this little notch in the side here. This is a pretty industry standard sort of form factor for reed switches. So that's reed switch number 1. Okay, reed switch number 2, we have our mini surface mount reed switch. Again, as mentioned before, compact design, surface mounts. Again, it's another industry standard style reed switch, normally closed contacts again, and it's a little bit smaller than the last one, but this particular reed is quite popular out there. You will see this style of reed switch everywhere. Now, again, this is the magnet side and this is the reed switch side. If we disassemble this a little bit, you'll be able to see where the contacts wire on this particular switch. You can see that the contacts are here, and that cover clips over the top to hide them out. This one you don't need to do any soldering. It's just a contact with a screw terminal on each side. So that's reed switch number 2. Okay, so reed switch number 3. This is a roller shutter reed switch, the DRSR. Now this one is designed to be mounted on roller doors, and obviously you can use it on pretty much any sort of style of roller door or industrial gate or that sort of thing. The biggest benefit of this product is it's available with a bracket, okay? And that particular bracket there can be used to stand the reed switch, or the magnet for the reed switch, off the door. And the other part obviously is the fact that this is a much flusher mount design when you compare it to other reed switches. So let's take a look. This is the reed switch here. So as you can see, it's quite a flat reed switch. The idea is that this can withstand being driven over once it's mounted correctly. Obviously, ideally, you keep it out of the way, but just in case it gets driven over, it's not such a big deal, or walked upon. And so that's the reed switch side. Obviously, if you take a look at the profile of a standard reed switch, the standard reed switch sits quite a lot higher than that device. And as I mentioned before, this is the magnet, but the magnet can also be mounted to a bracket, like so. So the bracket, the reed switch mounts to this side of the bracket here, and as the roller door comes up and down, obviously the magnet can be placed right on top of the reed so that we don't have any issues with separation. So sometimes what can happen is if you're too far away, let's say the roller door is over here and you've got too much of a gap, what can happen is when the roller door sort of flutters in the wind, the gap can vary and that can trigger your alarm system, which is obviously not a good thing. Much better to have the magnet as close as possible, and that's what this bracket allows. It also gives you quite a bit of leeway. So when you're doing the installation, it really does help, makes life way easier. And this comes with the mounting hardware for that device. So a couple of screws to mount it to the roller door typically, and then you've got your little machine screws here as well, which mounts to the bracket. Okay, so that's reed switch number 3. So reed switch number 4. This is a surface mount reed switch with normally open and normally closed contacts. So this one is special for the fact that it can be wired normally open and normally closed. So let's take a look at the reed. So that's this reed switch right here. So as you can see, it's the contacts for wiring this device. You have the 3, you have the common, the normally closed, and the normally open. What this means is when we can decide whether we have a normally open or normally closed switch when the device is open or shut. Unfortunately, when you compare it to some of the other devices, it's a little bit more ugly because you have the COM, normally closed, normally open wires here on screw terminals, which aren't concealed, unlike the other devices, which for the most part are concealed. But if you have a situation where it doesn't matter so much that they're exposed like that and you really need normally closed or normally open, the versatility of having both of those together, then this is your switch. Okay, so let's take a look at the next one in line. The next one is a little bit special. It's a concealed reed switch. Okay, so all of the reed switches up until now have been designed for surface mounting. The concealed reed switch is actually designed to be mounted inside a door or a window or something like that, essentially within the frame. As you can see, it's obviously quite a bit smaller than the other devices because it's designed to be mounted in. And so if we jump over and take a quick... So this is the surface mount reed switch. Again, you know, this might look completely different to a regular reed. Okay, so like the standard style of reed switch here, obviously this looks nothing like it. But the reason for that, like I said, is this is surface mount, whereas this guy here is designed to be recessed in a door or a window frame. So essentially what happens is the bottom part, or the reed, I should say, itself, is concealed in the door frame, and the magnet is concealed inside the door. So essentially all you see is just that flat piece on top, and they sit together like that, or sit very close together like that. So when the door opens and closes, obviously this is the plane that we're swinging in and out of. But it really cleans up installations if you can do it that way. Obviously sometimes it's not practical, depends on the frame and how far along the process of a build you're getting a chance to do your wiring, but concealed reed switches can really help there. So that's the concealed reed switch. So the next switch that we have is the heavy duty hardwired reed switch. Now, this device is special because it's sort of designed more for industrial installations. I mean, it can be used in residential installs and things as well, but they're really tough. And they're designed so that, you know, abuse and things that they cop, maybe if you've got them mounted to a gate or possibly just some sort of, you know, large door or somewhere where they might get bumped or bashed, they're quite good with regard to withstanding that sort of thing. So the other good thing about these is they have quite a large gap. Okay, so the sensor or the gap distance is quite large, up to 50 millimeters again, which can really help eliminate those horrid false alarms at 2 a.m. in the morning when the building decides to move because everything's cooling down. So let's go ahead and take a look. So this is our hardwired reed switch. As discussed, they come in 3 different colors. So we have our silver, our white, and our brown. And again, the reason behind that is so that we can match whatever door frame, window frame, wherever you need to mount it, we have something that can be used. These can also be used in automotive if you need them to be as well. They are quite rugged. So as you can see on the base, everything's epoxy coated, sort of similar to how the magnet is set up in the standard roller shutter reed, but this time we have the magnet and the reed switch epoxy coated, and there is, you know, they're quite strong devices. There's no damaging these. These come with the mounting screws, which can be obviously used to screw these, to fix these to whatever you need to affix them to. And yeah, the wide gaps. So the idea that you could have these 50 millimeters apart, like these are spaced now, roughly 50 millimeters apart, and they would still detect. Okay, so in fact, let's quickly show you that, might as well while we're here. So as you can see here, we have these spaced roughly 7 centimeters apart, and as they approach, you can see even before we get to 5 centimeters apart, we are detecting. So they have that really wide gap, the ability to bridge really wide gaps. So A, you don't end up with false alarms when things flutter in the breeze, or metal expands and contracts or something like that as temperatures fluctuate. But it also sort of makes our life a bit easier when we're doing the installations, because we can safely mount these things 30 millimeters apart and know that they will always be there, always detecting without issues, because we have so much leeway with regard to the gap. So this brings us to our final reed switch, which is our indoor hardwired reed switch. Now this is a plastic small reed switch. It's essentially a no frills, works everywhere kind of device. And it's got concealed wiring, as you can see from here, and just the 2 contacts. So if we jump across again to the camera, you can see here, so this is the reed. As you can see, far smaller than the devices that I've showed you up until now. So quite a bit smaller than these styles of devices here. But if we open it up, you can still see that we have quite a well-structured product with the reed switches inside here. It's quite good actually with all the reed switches I've shown you today. None of the reeds themselves are actually exposed. Okay, so there's no danger of accidentally stabbing the glass envelope of the reed switch with your screwdriver while you're trying to set it up, or possibly trying to mount it to the wall or something like that. So that makes a big difference. So that's our reed switch side here, and might as well show you the magnet while we're at it. So this is the magnet side over here. And as I mentioned before, all the wires are concealed under the cap. So there you have it, the WatchGuard range of hardwired reed switches. Hopefully this video has been informative. If you have any questions or comments, anything you want to say, feel free to leave a comment down below. If you'd like this video or would like to see more like it, please click that like button and click the subscribe button down below. Thanks for watching.